Hey y'all, our video is over lesson 9, which is revenue streams and models. So a revenue stream is the way that your business converts your product or service into financial gain for your startup. There's two types of revenue. There's direct revenue, and that's revenue gained by your main good or service. So an example of this is like football tickets for an LSU football game. Your main good is the football game, so the tickets are your direct revenue. Your second type of revenue is ancillary revenue, and that's revenue gained by a good or a service other than the main offering. So an example of this is like the concession stands at the LSU football game. So the next slide is going to be over revenue streams and some different examples of the different revenue streams. So the first one is an asset sale, and an example of this is like when you go to Walmart and buy tennis shoes. So the second one's renting fee. An example of this one is like renting a tuxedo. The third, you'll have a usage fee, and this is when the fee is proportional to the usage of the service you used. So this is like your phone bill, your Verizon, your AT&T bill. And you have licensing fee. An example of this is like Windows. So you're paying for the use of PowerPoint, the use of Word. And then you have subscription fee, which this is very common right now. This is like Spotify, Netflix, Hulu. And you have intermediation fee. This is like for websites like Etsy and Airbnb, where small startups or small, even just like individuals, can sell things to a much broader audience than they would without the website.
Next up, we're going to talk about pricing. So each revenue stream may have different pricing tactics. The first type of tactic is fixed price. Fixed price is cost plus markup. This is value priced based on customer segment, or volume pricing, which is based on how many of the products you buy. An example of this is Intel. Whenever Intel sells a lot of parts of computers comparatively to just one part of the computer. The other part of pricing is dynamic pricing. This is either negotiation, yield management, such as airlines and car rentals. They also have real-time markets, such as the stock market, and also we have auctions, just like eBay.
So when talking about how market type affects pricing, there's two main questions you're going to ask yourself. What are the existing markets and how will the existing markets react? Since you're already in an existing market, you need to ask yourself about the competition. Are there more established and dominant competitors, such as a monopoly or an oligopoly already in your market? The second question you're going to ask is how will they react? To figure out how they react, you're going to really want to understand what their product is, how they price it, and what pricing will make them hurt the most. If there are dominant competitors in the existing market, you're going to want to think about how to use pricing as a strategy, not just a reaction. So now talking about single and multi-sided markets. In general, there are two categories of markets, single-sided and multi-sided markets. Single-sided markets are purely focused on maximizing revenue, while a multi-sided market is usually more focused on gaining users or payers compared to revenue. An example of a multi-sided market is the website Google. Google doesn't necessarily make direct revenue off of the user searching for a specific product, but Google receives money from the business who wants their link to be at the top of the search. If your company is advertising based or users first, then you should ask yourself a few questions. How do I get 10 million monthly users? How do I become one of the top websites visited for my product type? And how much do my payers actually pay? The last question means basically how much are the users who actually purchase the product willing to pay for it? Having 10 million users to your website with none of them purchasing anything is useless, and a company with only 10 users visiting but all our payers is more successful. In comparison, revenue first companies should ask themselves these questions. What is the time to doublings for monthly revenues? When will I get $200,000 per month? When will I get $1 million per month? And what assumptions about my business am I making when I reach these milestones?
On this slide, you're going to see a new market revenue forecast. So when a startup enters a new market, they don't have any customers yet. So this is why the revenue in year one is flat, and it's likely to remain flat till year three. And then on year four, you see a spike in sales because the market has gained momentum and customers have a need for the service or good that you're providing. But a lot of times in a new market, a startup's revenue stream never reaches this tipping point and they go out of business. The goal of a startup is to influence this tipping point using their customer strategies, value proposition, and their get, keep, and grow strategies. No startup in a new market can affect this tipping point by itself, though. Startups need to consider outside factors like political environment, social trends and needs, economic factors, technology trends, the environment, and new laws. Also, partnerships with suppliers and other companies, as well as influencers, are important to the mainstream adoption of a new market. And also, as well, after year 5, if they do take off, they need to try and save as much as this new revenue so they can fund all these partnerships and outside factors that are crucial to their future success. On this slide, you see what the revenue forecast looks like for a startup that is entering an existing market. In an existing market, there's already other companies selling a similar product, so you know that there's already people that need or want what you're offering. So you have competition and customers. A great example of this is Facebook. So when Facebook came along, there was already MySpace, so they knew that there was a market for a social media website. But when they entered the market, they started taking away business from MySpace as they gained traction and popularity. And so that's the main goal of a startup that's entering an existing market. You want to just year after year take market share away from your competitors. Here you see the revenue forecast for a resegmented market, and that's a combination of new and existing revenue forecasts. And the reason why is because in years 1 through 3, the startup is getting money from existing markets. And, customers think you're a good substitute, but they don't see your startup as the best. So you have a customer base, but, you don't have the market share. Then in years 4 and 5, you see a tipping point where you either create a niche, which is like a new need, and it separates you from all the rest, or you offer just a low price for the same or better value than the competition. And so your customers see like the full value in your product and your revenues start to increase.
Let's look at the Jersey Square pricing example. Jersey Square actually hosted interviews with their clients, over 150 of them, to get a better understanding of their customers. They then decided on their subscription models. One yearly low-cost rate at $199 a year. They also offered a monthly rate with a slightly higher price, but it also allowed for them to cancel at the end of each month. They also offered one-time rentals for a much higher rate, but you also didn't have to commit to a contract. They then evaluated and tested each type against each other. Then, after that, they applied each customer to their market segments and allowed them to do as they pleased. A lot of important questions come up in your revenue model. What are your customers paying for? What kind of product are you giving them? What capacity do my customers have to pay? If you try to sell a Lamborghini to a blue-collar worker, it might not work out so well in your favor. How are you packaging your product? This doesn't mean your actual wrapping. Would you be able to sell add-ons later for a much higher rate and get more money out of it? And then it goes back to how you price your product.
So there are 4 questions that you should ask yourself about the market size and share. And they are, what is the market size and what percentage of the market share can you realistically get? How many can your channel sell? How much will the channel cost? And how much will it cost to acquire a customer? The Jersey Square revenue streams, they had 2 customer segments. They had sports jersey owners, which were like regular attendees and normal fans. And then they had single game attendees, which were usually women and younger people who like to just go to one game and didn't really have like a season pass. And from those 2 customer segments, that they had 2 revenue streams. The single game attendees just wanted to pay per rental. So they wanted to just pay whenever they went to
a game and then return the jersey after. But the sports jersey owners liked the annual subscription option where they would pay $200 a year and receive a jersey for each game.